Hi everyone, Patricia Worby here. Delighted today to welcome my friend and colleague Su Winsbury to our series of radical healing conversations. Now, Sue describes herself as an energy alchemist, which I think is just a superb description. But I've always wanted to ask Sue what she actually does with clients, because all I know is clients come to me and go, wow, we've had this amazing session, and I'm really interested to find out what she does. And I know Sue, welcome. It's lovely to do this with you.
Thank you.
I know we do similar kind of work. We work intuitively, we work on energy, but beyond that, I've done a little bit of what you do, but I haven't ever sat down and asked you to take me through a consultation. What is it you're looking to do? How do you assess someone? Just give me the brief outline of what it is you do.
So thank you. It's so lovely to be here.
Yeah.
And it feels like it's about time that we really had this chat. So in its simplest form, I work with people's energy. And there's so much knowledge now that everything is energy. We are energetic beings. We carry energy channels through our body. We have our energy field, our aura. We just have a lot of energy. We have a lot of capacity to shift. And everything that we have ever experienced, thought, believed is held within our energy, either in our energy field or it gets caught up in our physical body. And it can actually kind of, a lot of physical conditions, in fact, most physical conditions, to be quite honest, if not every single one, has an emotional context. So I like to work with people to really connect with what's going on a deeper level. And it goes way beyond what they are consciously aware of. So we are looking at what's in their deep subconscious, what's in their energy, peeling back the layers to get to the root of issues. So for me, it's fascinating. It's always really interesting. I never ever know where a session's going to go. You have to rely on your intuition a lot. Just questions just pop into your head, and sometimes I think, interesting, don't know where that's come from, but we'll go with it. And just help people really connect with what's going on that energy level, and then help them release it from their body, and then really finish with positive affirmations.
Right.
So I don't know whether, certainly in terms of law of attraction, I think that is great, but there are some flaws in it, because if you're just repeating positive affirmations, but you've got something that's very, very deep-seated, it's kind of glossing over the top. So for me, it's about uncovering those base layers, and then you can start to bring in the positives and rewire the energy, rewire the neural pathways, and create those big shifts.
Beautiful. I'm so glad you raised that issue of, we read a lot about law of attraction. I mean, it's a popular self-help idea, isn't it? And there are loads and loads of videos, and there's reams of work on it. And I think there is a misinterpretation of some of that understanding, in that if you just repeat often enough, I'm a good person and I deserve, wealth, or whatever it is you're trying to attract, that somehow it'll flow your way. And then there are a lot of people who say, well, I've done all that and it hasn't changed my life. And one of my sort of understandings that I work within is that if your energy pattern, if you like, what you have learnt over the years of your experience, particularly in childhood, is of lack or struggle, or I'm not good enough, lack of self-worth. It doesn't matter how many times you say, I deserve a happy, healthy, whole and wealthy life, you're not actually going to be vibrating at that level. You're not going to be emanating that kind of energy field. So I just say to people, when I work with them, I use a lot of energy interventions, And I say, it's no good us just tapping in. If I'm using tapping, I deserve healing. If underneath what you're really thinking is, I'm worthless, I haven't done enough, I can't heal, I'm no good, I'm worse than everyone else, whatever the reason is. So I think it's so important to start where people are, don't you? Where are they in life? Where are they? And what do they truly believe about themselves? I don't know if you ever tease that out, but
yes, definitely. And I think, but so often people don't even know what they're actually thinking underneath, because it's so deep set in the subconscious, or it's just in that energy field, and it creates all of these negative thoughts, emotions, limiting beliefs, whatever, create almost like a fog in your vibration. They lower your vibration. For me, it creates a very kind of murky, foggy energy. So that's why when you're trying to sort of bring in all the good stuff, and it's got to get through all of that stuff before it can even get to you and start shifting you. And that's why the energy work is so powerful. And
another good point.
So interesting.
Another good point.
One of the things that really I've noticed very recently, and it's coming up a lot, is what we pick up, what beliefs, the feelings, emotions that we pick up during our time in the womb. And there's no amount of coaching that's ever going to get into that, which is why for me the energy side is so powerful, because you're picking up on all your mother's thoughts and experiences during your time in the womb. She already had her eggs when we're born with all our eggs inside us, so those eggs from your mother's eggs are already imprinted with her mother's thoughts, beliefs, experiences, and the father's. And so we're not just trying to manage our own stuff from our own experience. We come into this world already with thoughts, beliefs, energetic disturbances from our ancestors and past lives as well, if you want to go on a
I mean, I think of, because I work with trauma particularly, which is just another word for a bad imprint experience, and we know that travels down the generations. We know already that it can go at least 3, we think probably more than that. And I think what you're talking about is that energetic vibration that has been transmitted, and in the birth process, or pre-birth, even in gestation in the womb. I'm sure that's a big part of a lot of the kind of experiences that people have in their adult lives, comes from those really early imprints of either, just looking at my own experience. So I was the second child, but the third conception, because my mother lost a baby before me, which, at the time we never discussed it. It's just very passing mention. About 20 years ago, she said, oh, I actually had a miscarriage. And it was like, oh, right, because in my 20s wasn't interested in that. It's like, yeah, so what? Now I know, of course, that would have changed the way she felt about this, the pregnancy with me. Yeah. And it was a very, very cold winter, like we've not had since 1964. Work it out, folks. So snow was up to the first floor, apparently, in some places. The UK doesn't get hugely bad winters generally, but we're fairly mild and wet, but this was an exception, and it didn't go above freezing, I think, for something like 90 days. Ooh. So she would have been cold, afraid, stressed, nervous, whatever, and then she goes into labour with me, and I am not coming. I don't want to come into this world. I am somehow. So I was a forceps delivery as well. So so there's a lot there actually that does change the way I as an adult feel. And I know that because I think I've explained to you before, and I may have done to the listeners, but my mum's aging now, and she's getting slightly forgetful, confused. There is an element of dementia there. And oh my goodness, it's so hard for me to deal with, because I have this energetic link to her, that her pain is my pain. And I remember saying that to my brother, her pain is my pain. And he just went, oh, I don't know where to go with that, because what does that mean? It feels like we're energetically linked. And so when she's suffering, I feel like I am too, and I've got to do something to change it. And I'm sure that comes from these early experiences. I'm absolutely positive.
Yeah.
And it could be why I'm talking to you now. But isn't it interesting?
There's never such a thing as coincidence. I just think, everything's always as it's meant to be.
Yeah. So in terms of, so you're working somatically, if you like, I call it somatically, through the body effectively, aren't you? To access the subconscious, which of course holds this memory component that you were talking about. All the things that have ever happened to us are downloaded. Although we don't access them consciously, we are referring to them when we're doing certain behaviors, scripted behaviors. So things like having relationships, making important decisions, choosing how and where we're going to live. And I was thinking about that this morning, actually. I was looking at the room, my bedroom is the mirror image of my parents' bedroom. I mean, it has a bay window in the same direction, the door's in the same place. The house, in fact, is really, really similar to my parents' house, because I have some very happy memories of snuggling in between my parents, in their bed and looking out the bay window. And I'm thinking, God, I've absolutely mirrored it in the choice of house I've made, and it's so funny. It takes such a lot about us. So when someone comes in, they've got a problem, perhaps, I don't know, what they've got some pain or a symptom. How do you kind of assess where to go? What do you do? How do you sort of make your judgment?
So I'll just have a chat with someone, find out what's going on. I don't need to delve into lots and lots of their history, so I don't ask them an awful lot about their past. Sometimes I'll normally just say, what's going on with you right now?
Yeah.
Why are you here? Tell me what's going on with you. We might sort of go into a little bit of past experiences. People, once they start opening up, tend to sort of say, oh, this happened and that happened. So I'll get a fairly nice big picture, and then I'll be able to just kind of spot maybe a couple of things where I can see that there's some element of what you would call trauma, but an experience, because the brain can interpret all kinds of things as trauma. So it might be a teacher shouting at you when you're 7 years old. For some people that can be imprinted as a traumatic experience. It doesn't have to be anything really, really dreadful. So normally it will highlight a couple of things, and then we literally start working, and I use something called the energy alignment method. So we use the body sway.
That's right.
So it's kind of a kinesiology tool. I think it's used in various modalities, but we literally take people out of their heads into their hearts, into their energy. So we use the body sway. So normally your body will kind of go gently forwards for a yes and gently backwards for a no. And then it just becomes, for me, it becomes a very intuitive process. And I will just ask questions and the answers just come up. And it's really hard to be even more specific about that, because it's such an intuitive process. We go with the energy, and sometimes you'll get so someone will come, you'll get to an answer about something, but we need to know at what age it started. So then we can literally use that sway to find out what age it started. And sometimes people will say, you might get to the age of 7, and I'll say, can you remember what was going on in your life when you were 7? And quite often people go, oh yeah, that's when this happened, or oh, that's when that happened, or whatever. And then we work from that. If they can't, then again, I'll just kind of use questions, and we'll try and work out what it is. Sometimes you don't even need to know the details. Sometimes all you need to know is that something happened at the age of 7. That's it. And then we use a process to release it, which again is very simple. It's just repeating phrases. And then bring in nice new energy. So it's a lovely, simple tool. I like to empower people that they can use it on their own as well. So it's not just about me doing it for them. It's about us working together and helping people understand it so that they can go away, use it at home, shift things as they go along.
It's about empowering people away from the therapy session as much as what you do in the therapy, isn't it?
Yeah, totally.
It's about teaching people how to live better lives. I'm really interested in the kinesiology effect, actually, because I've talked to a number of different practitioners in the last 2 or 3 weeks who use variations on this. And I know from the kind of people that tune into my channel and may be interested to see you, that there might be some skepticism around how that might work. And because, you know, I know my background, science background, was like, that can't work, until I was introduced to it, and then found out that my body also responds in this way without conscious volition, without me going, yeah, I'm going to say a yes or a no. Yeah. It just does it. And it seems to be to do with the autonomic nervous system. And autonomic nervous system, if people listening don't know, is the part of the nervous system that auto-regulates your body. It keeps your heart beating and your blood pressure a certain level, and your metabolism working, and your digestion and your thinking and all of those things. But it seems to have particular interaction with your voluntary muscles, with the muscles of your body. And in fact, there are many ways of doing it other than body sway, aren't there? There's a little test you can do on the sort of fingers, and some people do all sorts of other peculiar things with holding the arms, and yeah. But it actually affects your muscle strength if you are in contradiction to what you are saying or a belief you're holding. Is that's the basis of it, isn't it? I believe.
Yeah. And interesting you say about the arms. So I sometimes go into schools and do sessions with sort of the more anxious children around exam preparation and things like that. And that arm muscle test is one that I use with the kids, because it literally takes less than 5 minutes to show them the impact of their thoughts on their physical body. So I will get them to work in pairs, test the arms, then we'll say something really negative about themselves. So I'll get them to repeat a phrase 7 times, like I'm useless, I'm worthless, I'm pathetic. And I remember having one girl kept looking at me saying, why are you doing this? Why are you doing this? And I said, well, this is the kind of things that people tell themselves on a regular basis. And she was amazing, because she said, I don't get it. So she was just like, out of the entire group, she has a completely different way of thinking. But they literally then test the muscles, and the strength has gone. And then we obviously replace it with something very empowering, and again your arm strengths come up. But I think, you know, the body, our energy, it knows so much more than our conscious minds.
Yeah, so that's really something I totally accept now, that this part of us, the unconscious brain, which is largely our limbic and survival brainstem, I've already said it records everything, but it reads out into the body, doesn't it? So there's this autonomic two-way street between that part of your brain and the rest of your body. And to think of your brain as separate is ridiculous. There's just, you know, it's integral to your body. It is part of your body. And modern medicine, of course, totally rejects that and says if you've got a mental problem, that's a completely different stream of medicine than if you've got a physical problem. But we know that the two are in conversation, just like you and I are. And I love the fact that you do talk, you use the truth or the way that people talk to themselves to demonstrate how that impacts their bodies on a daily basis. If you are saying to yourself, as we know, that teenagers particularly are very, very prone to comparison with other people, and they feel very low sometimes about how they're achieving stuff or not achieving stuff. So they will be saying, I'm useless, I'm rubbish at this, I can't do this, and not realizing that self-talk is having a massive effect on their physiology, on the actual way their body functions. So well done you for doing schoolwork. I think fantastic, really brilliant to work with children, because we live in a culture that just does not support kids to understand their bodies or to kind of work on an intuitive level. We've lost it, haven't we? Do you think that?
I think I think we have, but I also, from the circles that I'm moving in, I'm seeing that there is this massive rise now of people really beginning to understand energy and actually waking up to, the power, the actual power that we have within, and the whole mind body connection. And there are definite shifts happening. It's just slow. It's slow process. It is. We are slowly getting there, and I just think, for me, I feel that we're still only scratching the surface of what we are truly capable of as beings.
I think we are approaching a leap, an evolutionary leap. I think that's why you see the mainstream culture going downhill. It seems that human beings, consciousness as we are, it doesn't evolve gradually. It's not a general upward. It sort of goes in leaps. That's been documented by science, and I think we're heading that way. But it almost feels like the old order has to kind of collapse before the new order comes in. And you are right, of course, there is hope, there is powerful movement going on under the sort of mainstream, if you like, which you and I are part of. I can't believe I'm saying that, because I would have laughed at myself 20 years ago to say I'm part of an alternative healing culture, because folks, I was not that kind of person. I was very straight-laced, sciencey, and if it didn't get written up in a paper, I couldn't accept it. So but we are seeing energy healing actually moving into a new paradigm where it is becoming more scientifically accepted, and I think it's going to be the future of medicine, frankly. Because you can shift stuff that I bet a lot of your clients have been loads of other places before they get to you.
Yeah, and I'm still amazed sometimes with the shifts that people make. And I was working with someone a couple of weeks ago, and she's had neck pain for years and years and years, and it doesn't matter what she does, she can't shift it. And she teaches exercise, so she knows how to hold her body. She knows all the mechanics. And so we kind of started working, and the first thing that came up was that she was born with the umbilical cord around her neck. So there's already like a feeling of anxiety and tension around the neck that was sort of imprinted in her. And then the next thing that came up was that something had happened when she was 17.
Wow.
And it was connected to a family relationship, and she'd got all these emotions caught up that she had no idea that those emotions were there. But there was anger, there was frustration, there was resentment, there was being let down, and we literally just worked through them one by one, shifted them, and by the end of the session she was just doing this for the neck, going, oh, I've been able to do that for years. And so that's just a very small example of how that took an hour and a quarter. It's not a long time.
No, to shift something that she's had for years, that she's probably had physiotherapy, she's probably had painkillers, she's probably had people, I don't know, x-raying, she's probably gone through the whole gamut of modern medicine, which ignores the impact of thoughts, beliefs and emotions on the physical body, that as I've intimated, they're not separate. So what you think and what you believe and what you feel, particularly from your past, I think that's where it's imprinted really deeply. I love the idea that an emotion is an energy in motion, because I think that's what it is. Sometimes what we call stuff in English or any language, I guess, it tells us, doesn't it, how it's kind of come about.
Yes. Yeah.
I just love the idea that you can work with somebody who's had that kind of problem for so long, and nobody has told them that they've got these imprints that are actually holding their muscles in tension because it hasn't been processed as over. The humiliation, the betrayal, the sadness, the anger, whatever the emotion is, and we've all got them.
That's it, right? We have.
We have. So,
and even, I think it's important for people to know that, even though we practice all this stuff and we know all this stuff, and I work on myself every single day, but we've still got our own things. You know, we're not perfect, no matter, you know, I don't think we'll ever get to, you know, that point, but the more you work on yourself, the more you can change things. But we are also normal human beings.
We are, and that's a beautiful place to maybe draw this conversation to a close, that those of us who are working with others are not claiming to be different. We're not enlightened in, you know, we haven't reached nirvana yet. We are work in progress, but maybe we're a little bit ahead of the people we're working with. You know, we've had our own crises, or we've had our own difficulties, and we've found ways through them. Yeah. So wonderful to hear about your work. As I say, I know through, you know, the people that have worked with you, what effect you actually have. So it is really key and important work that you're doing. And I know when I've also met you that your energy is just wonderful. Being around you is so incredible, because you can feel this. You can feel that you've done so much work and that you work on yourself every day. Because you just, when I'm in proximity to you, I feel like there's a light around you. I can even feel it now, where you kind of emanate goodness, and we don't have a lot of that, and we need more. So it's been really wonderful to ask you these questions, and I know we could talk for hours about neuroplastic change and how, you know, the mind and the body interact. But just as an introduction to what you do, I'll obviously going to include links to both your website and mine at the bottom of this video. So folks, this is Sue. Do contact her. I'm proud to say she's a friend and a colleague, and hope you've enjoyed this chat. Thank you very much, Sue.
Thank you.
Bye for now. Bye.